In the morning when you're going to class, there's a level of excitement, and I would say nervousness.
I have to go through my whole pre-teaching ritual. I have my pre-teaching trance.
In that 10 minutes, reviewing all the case facts in my head, I'm thinking about who the protagonist is, what are some important things that I may want to remember, because if you sit in that classroom and you're the first person to open, you better have something intelligent to say.
I usually arrive exactly 10 minutes before. There are probably a dozen small things that ritualistically I better go through to make sure I'm ready to go.
You have a few minutes basically to gather your thoughts and collect, but there's also this, you're around your peers and you're around your friends. And it's a very intellectually stimulating conversation.
People are arguing about the numbers that they get on a case.
And I think there's a level of enjoyment that you get from having a new problem to solve.
Most people are, I think, pretty calm on the outside, but, they start to get nervous.
Heated moment a little bit right before when the professor walks in the room. They're probably doing something in their papers, like looking at their teaching plan, and they look up and you know it's coming.
They close the door and you know that all of a sudden it's a question going to someone, you don't know who. It's almost impossible to predict, and that person could be you.
So, Reva, you have a very high sales forecast, and Nick, you have a very low sales forecast. So I'm going to ask each of you to give us the logic behind the forecast you've got 4 years out. Most folks think of university as a professor professing, and it's not uncommon for a professor to lecture and do at least 80% of the talking. With the case method discussion, we reverse that formula.
So I think that's probably where the two differences are lying. Is
We put the student in the seat of that manager who's confronting a problem.
It really mirrors what managers do in real life.
You've got enduring business problems, you've got compelling individuals, and you've got powerful environments for change. And I think all those make exciting learning.
It's fun, right? There's a lot of active engagement. It's hard in a lot of ways as well, though. Nothing is spoon-fed to you. You've got to come ready to play every day. I have been amazed teaching here 17 years at the consistent level of high preparation.
I think there's definitely peer pressure to prepare for your cases. We're all depending on each other to come prepared, to come with good comments, prepare to share our own experiences.
The more you prepare for a case, the more I think everybody else gets out of it.
It's not like math class where you can go through and you can, derive a proof and say, okay, I did it, I got my proof, I'm done. Here it's like you read the case and you can't crack these things. There's not a right answer. So you read through and you decide, you make your decision, and then you have a conversation with someone in the hallway and you've completely reversed your decision because they brought up a really great point.
If you want to know whether you're voting for A or whether you're voting for B, because you need to have a stand, because in the real world you need to have a stand too, and you need to have an opinion. And you can be open-minded, but you still need an opinion.
You read the case facts, but they stay with you. So you might be doing other stuff, you might be playing intramurals, you might be having dinner with your friends, but you think about it.
Knowing what details are important and what details aren't important, I think you learn that over time.
HBS is a lot of work. I would be lying if I said I didn't do homework for many hours a night. And if folks don't want to put in the effort to read the cases and prepare the cases and come and discuss them, then this isn't a place for them.
I expect students to give their heart and soul to the case. Most importantly, I expect the students to put themselves in the shoes of the protagonist of the case and ask themselves seriously, what would I do? What would they do if they really had that situation in their lives?
We teach people in many ways the courage to act under uncertainty. The facts in a case are always limited. The amount of information you have at hand is by design quite compressed. You're working under great time pressure. We're asking people to learn how to take a stand.
So Z-Corp, they're a startup. They make this product called the Z402, which is a three-dimensional printer.
Learning Team is a chance for the student to move from individual preparation to a small group and test their ideas for the first time.
And also that gives you different material and better quality. Yeah.
But there's no high-end market where the designer can actually produce his own prototypes.
Right, but we don't have a high-end product.
Many students are pretty convinced when they're done with their individual analysis, they've got the answer. They often find they sit down with their learning team and there are 4 other answers, equally compelling, but very, very different.
I mean, I don't think they have a year to kill training people, and these people are already trained to sell. You just have to teach them about the product.
Right, but they only need 6 this first year to meet their goals.
Having the learning team is extremely valuable. It is instrumental in the way we get educated in this institution. Because the truth of the matter is, if you didn't have someone to give you some pushback, the material wouldn't sink in the way it does.
I think your numbers, if you bring it to the board, they will probably say go back and come back with another plan.
Learning team is a great opportunity to take risks because you know these people very well. It's a very small, close-knit group, but also a pretty diverse group, so people have different perspectives.
And the best way is through interaction with people from all around the world.
The very focused learning about different cultures and different traditions actually comes in.
In reality, you could start off like building a sales force and then like using one of these channels because there's no risk anyway.
You often get a better sense as to, okay, what's the key thing we're really going to debate in class and what are our different perspectives on it. So you can start to get that thought process going and really warm up before walking in for the opening call. I think Z Corp is one of those very classic HBS cases where the protagonist is here in the room.
I have Tom Clay here. Thank you very much for joining us.
You're coming in with a problem that they have faced in the past, and everyone comes in with a stance.
Okay, Reva, what was your number? What's the 2001 forecast?
It's a bit aggressive, about 115.
115.
15, yeah.
It's aggressive. It's not the record. That's pretty high.
We're creating the market. We're also tapping into people who are using technologies that already exist. It's nerve-wracking, but at the same time, once you start describing what your rationale was, you become a lot more comfortable.
Nick, what's your number?
6 million.
With the same set of facts, students had to come to their own conclusion about the sales opportunity for Z Corp, and the range was very wide.
And that's not unique to the Z Corp case. That happens almost on a daily basis.
There's a pretty big difference of opinion working from the same set of facts. So we could keep going trying to figure out how you got to these various numbers, but actually encourage us to think about why there's a difference.
The reason we have such a big range in the forecast is because either we're thinking about this as, this is the pie of people who may buy.
That's what HBS is about. It's not about trying to prove that you're right every single time. It's by exposing you to different perspectives, other ways of looking at businesses.
It's my job to create an environment for the students where it's safe to take some risks, to offer some new ways of thinking about something, where it's feels safe to have those ideas challenged. Where does that push you in terms of your channel choice?
Nobody really playing in a very big market, and you want to go with the CAD guys who sort of cover this entire space, know who the buyers are, know where the decision making is.
The direct gives you that control to be able to educate and really build those relationships and help, basically create a market for this product.
So I think the direct method works well because the salesperson will know the company very well. They'll know what they need.
In marketing, we learn you should always focus on what you're good at, your core competencies. And for me, that is the ability to make a superior product, because if you can think of yourself, position yourself to be sold to Xerox one day, but unless you have something that is truly extraordinary, you're not going to be able to do that.
We're engineers. Keep doing what we're good at doing and let other people do the sales and marketing.
Exactly.
We've got no proven ability to do that. We're resource constrained. Paul?
I would completely disagree. I think this is the exact opportunity that they have to move forward, build into sales. They seem to have a lot of customer demand. I think that based on the projections, it's not that aggressive to assume that they can hit that 23 break even.
What makes you so positive that you're going to hit that, and what if you don't? It is a fixed cost.
Yeah, I actually used the same data for exactly the opposite conclusion, which is that you have one salesperson and you have 17 engineers, and you sold in 4 months 10 units.
One guy sold 10 units in 4 months.
And people really want to debate. They don't just want to, say their statement and get out, but you find that people are going back and forth about different points of view and really challenging each other to further defend their point.
I've never seen anything quite like our classroom. I've never seen anything with as much dynamism in it. I've never seen anything turn on a dime as fast as a case method classroom discussion can turn on a dime.
we just saw it unfold on the board. You saw 3 different sales strategies, and at the end, I think most people had either changed their opinion or were at least more open to a different sales strategy.
So we're having a little trouble making this decision. Maybe each of you can make the decision very clearly by yourself, but you end up collectively in very different places. Tom had trouble making the decision. Why is Tom having difficulty making this decision? Peter.
I think part of the problem for Tom right now is that he does sort of want to use a hybrid method.
My favorite classes are those where the debate is still raging 20 minutes after class, and we can't stop it.
I think that's the sign of a really good case discussion, is when people are just so excited and so interested in the conversation that it really stretches far outside of that classroom experience.
You will turn to the person next to you and you'll say, I totally disagree with what's on the board. And I think that's great.
These cases are real life. These are cases are things you run into day by day. So you interact with it when you're at the drugstore. You interact with them when you're driving your car on your way home.
I truly think the learning doesn't stop, and it doesn't always revolve around cases. It happens in conversations with people, just discussing backgrounds and experiences.
At the end of the day, you come to business school because you want to manage people. If you want to just study ideas, departments of economics and things of that kind are fabulous alternatives. But if you want to lead people in common cause, you got to interact with people.
The world of business, the world of responsibility, the world of being entrusted with other people's lives is all about constant change. If the last 2 years have taught us anything at all, they have taught us that turbulence is the new normal. And leading through permanent crisis has a huge role now for leaders of all shapes and sizes.
I found a strong link and a keen similarity between the case method and the way the creative process works. Rather than, study textbooks and take tests, it's interactive, it's engaging, it's like you become the characters in the cases and you put yourself in the situation. So, much like the creative process, it's more of a holistic approach to learning about a subject.
It walked me through the process of stocks trading, which before I came I had no idea what that was, but reading the case beforehand and then engaging with all of the students and the professor helped walk me through that process, and it pushed me, it stretched me, and it helped me reach areas that I wouldn't have done alone.
As an engineer, I've gotten a lot of technical instruction. Here's the equation, go home, apply it, we'll come back and talk about it tomorrow. But the case method kind of puts you on the spot. Here's the scenario as we know it, here's the details that this person had at the time they had to make the decision. What would you do?
We had a case on stock trading, and I had never done anything with that before, and I was a little nervous reading the case over the first time. But the learning teams were a great thing that we met with. A man in my learning team knew a lot about finance, so that really helped us. And then being in the case, just hearing, I didn't really speak that much during that case, but hearing other people and what they had to say, I learned something from that.
And I realized that a lot of the case method and a lot of the section breakdown that we have is designed to, have you engage really deeply with those classmates so that you can challenge yourself. Those kinds of skills will serve me in management roles, in roles where I need to deal with very different sets of commitments, and I'm really excited about starting.
I was pleasantly surprised actually in the first case we discussed. It was about a trade negotiation. I read through it, and honestly, I think I covered everything. But in the end, I realized I have covered about a third of all the aspects of the problem.
Someone may have a completely different view than you did and may present an argument or idea that you've never thought of. And to now say, wow, that's something that I should have thought of. That's something that needs to be considered.
And that was when I realized that this was how I learned best. And I had never known that because I'd never experienced it before, but I knew in that moment that the case study method was the best way for me to fully engage in an idea.
It's written like a story with a cliffhanger, which is about as cool as your homework can get. They do read like chapters in a novel, and the very end of it says, what does Greg do now? And very often it's an uncomfortable question and not one you would want to have to answer if you were him.
I think learning from 90 of your peers that are in that classroom is a lot better than learning just from one teacher, and that's what I'm looking most forward to.
It's going to be a challenge. I'm not just jump in and say my opinion kind of person. It's going to take a lot of effort for me to speak up in class and to, you know, be the first person that's called on and present the case in front of everyone. That's going to be tough. But that's another reason why I think this is going to be so good for me, because it's going to push me and expand my boundaries and force me to adopt that style, which is going to be valuable in the business world. I'm sure of that.